All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Eduardo Jorgensen. I'm a medical doctor and the CEO at Medicsen. And as they said, we build predictive algorithms and turn them into a practical user interface so the patients can interact with them. What you're seeing right now is our first app for diabetes, in which patients can track the average glucose for the day, the current glucose, and the predicted glucose level for the next hour. So that's the yellow part that you can see in here. They can actually see the chart about how they're going to be. They receive tips about general diabetes. So for example, this one says that always remember to carry a snack with you, just in case. And they receive advices around their forecasted glucose level. So now that it's good, it says keep it up. I'm sorry it's not adapted to tablet, so this part that you're seeing right here is a little bit not with good stuff. And they can always ask for what happens if they do any kind of thing, right? So for example, what happens if I drink a coffee, or if I eat an avocado cream, some lamb, for example, and some brownie. Then you add the quantity that you're going to have and the time where you expect to have it, from 12 to 12:30, and it's going to take a little bit because of the internet connection, so it's going to actually calculate the amount of carbs that this food has, send it to the cloud where our algorithm is, and it actually will predict the future glucose level that the patient will have for the next 2 hours, thanks to all the data that we have sent for the prediction. So if we allow it a couple of seconds, it will actually pop out with the predicted glucose levels. Yeah, so you can see how the patient will have a hyperglycemic event. I'm not sure if you can see that. Yeah, so that's the predicted glucose level, 177 for the next. It's going to have a 2 hours in hyperglycemia. So that's something that the patient should avoid. So I say that I won't do it. But what we envision is most of the communication with the patient happening through the chatbot. So they can actually ask for the summaries on their glucose levels. So I can type summary and ask for the last week's glucose summary, and we'll actually draw all the different data points from the day along with all the important relevant values, like the hyperglycemic events or the values in range. And I can actually also ask for the prediction, and it will show me. This is without the lunch that I said before, so this is the prediction that I'm actually subject to. And the system is continuously getting data from third-party wearable devices, so at any level, patients can add data through the scanning their continuous glucose monitors, and also adding manually. So they have different options. For example, if they want to add sports, will see these different options. They can type them, but they can also move. So biking, normal, from now until just 1 hour, and just like that, the data point is added. So yeah, that's more or less what our system does, and we also add the general traditional tools like the calendars, charts, so the patients can access all kinds of data points about themselves, just filter them however they want, and be aware of everything they need. And of course, we're building around all these the personal planning for the glucose levels and the recipes and activities. So, thank you.
Thank you, Eduardo. Please join us. So we'll take the opportunity to ask you a few questions about this. So I'll go first. I've seen that you were logging some kind of information. Can you just expand a little bit about what's the balance between data that you passively gather through sensors and data that you have to manually or proactively put into the app, under the general idea that the more passive, the merrier. So
yeah. So continuous glucose data, we can track it automatically as well as sports activity. Main problem comes with meal input, because currently there are no good technology to track meals automatically, even though those that you make a picture and they claim they can say the amount of carbs that they have, they don't work correctly. We have tested them, and you end up not knowing what's inside a cake because you cannot know how many carbs it has. So currently we can track anything automatically except meals.
Okay.
I guess, quick question. So what are you hoping out of this? Because ultimately, whether it's in diabetes or anything else, it's around behavior change. And actually adherence to entering your own meals is very, very difficult, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that drop off of Lose It and others. So where's your hypothesis on the behavior change, especially you're in a digital therapeutics panel, right?
Yeah, so there are a couple of points over there. We first think that digital assistants like chatbots are going to help in that task, because you're not going to actually need to be entering all the time to log data. It will ask you, you can send a voice message. It's simpler, still it will be a task that the patient needs to do, so it can decrease adherence. The second part comes when the private insurances, the health provider in the end, they're gonna be using these digital health assistants, and probably they're going to implement discount policies. So if the patient takes care of himself with these systems that demonstrate how it works, then the patient will benefit from discounts on the policy. So I think that's a very good way to enhance engagement.
Is this supposed to be paired with continuous glucose monitoring, or not only?
So we have built patient support programs without the need of a continuous glucose monitor, so it will benefit from recipes and physical activity plans. But the main benefit, the prediction and the actual what happens if I drink a Coke in 30 minutes, that's only possible with continuous glucose monitors, which will increase their penetration in the market over the next years.
Okay, so you will depend on the development of that market. Okay. Have you considered voice input, by the way?
Yeah, of course. We're working on that.
Can I ask you which level of clinical validation did you reach and how?
Yeah, so at the moment we have tested our algorithm in different steps. So first we did it with 3 patients, then with 10, then we have data from 100 patients that we have run through the device, and now we're preparing pilot trials in hospitals. So we're working with one private insurance and one hospital in Madrid, trying to implement the patient support program within their current offline patient support programs, and that way we'll both validate the algorithm on a clinical environment and also the benefits for them.
In this kind of setting, if you need to, envisage which kind of primary endpoint you will be targeting.
What kind of
primary endpoint for the validation you will be targeting?
So our the protocols that we have built is that on the 1 hour prediction we can have an error of less than 5 glucose units. That's the most hard hypothesis that we have built over there. And the second one is that on the 2 hour glucose level prediction is less than 10 milligrams per deciliter is glucose.
Okay, so you're targeting to hit to the prediction
error
in the 1 hour time frame and then 2 hours.
2 hours.
Okay, that's interesting. Mark, Eugene, any other question?
Yeah, another question about the business model. So as you're quite closely related to the continuous glucose monitoring in order to get the full benefit of the AI and the prediction, is the idea to license this to the likes of Medtronic, for example, or other manufacturers of those devices, or you plan to go another way?
It's a possibility. It's not our preferred way of doing the business model. We first think about growing our own software thanks to building patient support programs for other health providers. So then we will gather more data, grow the system bigger, and then decide whether we go for the strictly B2C with an app that can benefit the patients, or license it tech for insulin pump providers and continuous glucose monitors.
And what has been the engagement? Are you testing this with real patients now? And what's kind of, I'd say, the number of the patients and their response? Because I'm back to a little bit of this behavior modification.
And you're completely right.
If you're living already with whether it's type 2 or type 1, you kind of sort of know, based on what you eat, etc. So is it meant for the ones that are just diagnosed to so where's your stratification?
So when we realized about that just patients that have been diagnosed for a long time don't want to be learning all the things again, we structure the program in different levels. So the patient it enters the system. It's not implemented yet, but there's a gamification process coming in which patients go through levels learning about what things do they need to do in order to manage better the disease. So if you're an experienced patient, you won't get to the same point in the process. And of course, as you said, having to be opening the app, engaging all the time is not something that everybody wants. So in that strategy, we're not only targeting adding voice comments, but also allowing the patients to send a WhatsApp or a Facebook Messenger with their data just to add it. Yeah.
Maybe last question. I mean, if I'm allowed to. Because when I recently looked, I counted already more than 150 companies in the world working on some form of digital therapeutic, and quite a few of them in the diabetes space, and some of them pretty large and well funded, like of Omada and Welldoc, etc. So it potentially already is quite a crowded space. So how do you think you can, ensure that you get your place there and not, quickly be surpassed by some of the others?
Good question. So in this strategy, what we've analyzed is that even though patients currently want a new treatment, new digital therapies, sensors have not penetrated enough in the market. So if we develop something that's out there, it will be a little amount of patients that will benefit. So we decided to start gathering as much data as we want, to grow our algorithms and our not only the predictive algorithm, but also the one that recommends recipes and physical activities that clusters patients into different conditions. So what we understand is that as we will be growing, the predictive part will be a major advance compared to our competitors, and also the interface, thanks to the chatbot allowing multi-channels. So we're basically analyzing the data and giving the patient practical information about it, which is something that even though Omada or MySugar or all the good diabetes companies are not doing, because it's not in real-time advice at the moment. So we believe that our sweet spot is over there.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Eduardo. Stay with us for the next demo. So the next up is on comfort, and we are now tapping into the virtual reality digital therapeutic space. And we have Julian Tess, who is a marketing manager at On Comfort.